Okay, I had to free up some space, but this was too good to redo here. So, yeah, Holy Spirit, I was asked for insight and clarification. Give us inspired musings, and I help everybody to have the discernment and clarity to take what resonates as we sort of speculate on some of the spiritual tech here that that's going on with some of these chosen one narratives from these intuitive reads, and those have had similar experiences. And again, this is just for entertainment purposes only, breaking down what might be the mystery of Babylon. So, yeah, this is really interesting because it's like, all right, the number of readings that I've had. Let's start off with this Queen of Wands in reverse. I'll tell you what. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's kind of like this, like, you know, if we'll just look at the sort of energy harvest template, but like, it is this kind of like, when, you know, when someone's like really loud or like kind of attention seeking or whatever, like they're dominant, and it's kind of a leadership gifting, but it's also like sort of just, it ends up being kind of controlling or whatever, because you can get bamboozled because it's like so fast, and like it's constantly creating emotional reactions, which is addicting. So you already want to kind of comply because you want to keep those, you know, it's like you're getting attention and validation, but it's also quickly like being rerouted back to them, right? But what I'm getting here, and I'll explain it, is that like this person was actually, I think, and it's important to figure this stuff out, because like, so you don't fall for these traps again, or if you haven't fell for them, and you know, there's the masculine version of this too, but that, yeah, you can, if you've never fallen into the snare, then you maybe never will have to. But this is not to educate anybody on this stuff or whatever, because if you just listen to the readings and see how hard it's getting judged, like this would be jumping on the Titanic like right before it goes down, so that would be bad timing. Anyway, so it's like, but I mean, still, there, you know, don't just mess around with something that's dangerous because you think you're gonna get the win or whatever. I mean, like, use discernment, like be led by the Lord. Anyway, it's charisma, but it's like, it's actually kind of defensive, because it's trying to, like, the illusions, right? They're trying to keep you, it's misdirection, because they don't want you to see through them. But sometimes, like, if you're a chosen one and you're attention starved or something, you're seeing through it the whole time. But it's the, you know, the other oxytocin validation to keep you going. So it's like a three-pronged thing, because like if one of the other ones fails, the glamours fail, then they've still got the misdirection and then the validation and all these things. But a lot of times it's, you know, what's that fish song, birds of a feather? Like, sometimes people build you up just so they can knock you down. Truer words spoken in a jam band, probably not, but it's like, yeah, look at me so you don't look through me, you know, just don't see the shadows behind it, or what's, you know, don't look at the man behind the curtain. But they're also like kind of trying to study you, like your essence or whatever it is, while diminishing it and deconstructing it. But it's so they can they can reverse engineer it, right? Yeah, and it's like, you might have been a person who gets like a lot of just like divine ideas. Kind of stuff to click over here to try to distract me from this. Get like divine ideas and things like that, and like you just execute like a couple of them, and there's a coordinated event or a coordinated like action or whatever to like diminish yours. Meanwhile, these other people are acting like they've been doing that this whole time, or that was their idea or whatever, you know. Or it's like, this is like, and I've seen this in a lot of big cities too, because when there's just a lot of people, a lot of competition, and so they're always hating on copycats. Nobody hates a copycat more than a Destiny Swapper. But that's the thing, the narcissistic model is constantly, it's like, it sounds crazy until you experience it, honestly. Like, and I still have trouble with it, because I'm just thinking, that's a real thing. But some of these magicians, the skilled things, like that's what these people do. They put all the energy into like just being creative or something like that. But if you subscribe to the idea that like there are a lot of people that are gifted mimics and gifted originators or something like that, and so it's the mimics that often have to do these things or whatever. But I don't know. I also kind of think like everybody kind of starts off as a echo and they become a voice. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's John the Baptist is the voice in the wilderness. So I have a lot to say about this apparently, but it's glamour work tied to like recognition theft. Because and she might seem like she's interested in you, but she really just wants your blueprint so that she can be you. And so part of this is like what gets diagnosed as like borderline personality disorder, kind of like the Faith and Buffy arc is a great example. They actually do a full-on body swap, so it gets next level. And I'm not claiming to know enough about that or whatever, but she's involved here with this Knight of Pentacles reversed, and so he's more of a monitoring person. Like he might speak in her energy or on the phone line or whatever it is, but it's and it could just be like a soul tie or something like that, or some kind of like monitoring thing like that. So that's why as chosen ones, I'm always encouraging like decrees and things over like just your own energy field. Yeah, it's and everybody's like, how does, why do narcissists all have the same playbook or BPDs? Why do you end up with BPD after being with a narcissist or whatever? And it's and sometimes it's like they do try to offload their own codependency, and it kind of works or whatever if they can, if they're good at it. The obsession or whatever. They start off obsessing with you get addicted to that, and then you become codependent on the validation of being worthy of being obsessed over, and then you chase that, which makes you obsess over them, right? So that's kind of that whole thing. But meanwhile, and the spirit, it is sort of like a Jacob and Esau thing. Like we really got to learn that thing, because that's getting milked so hard. Copycat. But like this again, this has been a thing. Different communities have talked about the whole battery in the back thing, and whatever. People as energy source. It gets really sci-fi at some point, and there's, I don't know how much of this stuff I actually even believe is real. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff I think it becomes more real when you give it power, or there's like entities and things like that like can mimic it just because of you've given it so much. We want to be filling our mind with light more than the darkness, but we also want to expose the plots and plans of the enemy. That's part of the prophetic spirit here. So but there is. So what I was going to say is like it seems like the narcissists all have the same playbook, but it's all the same principalities. You know what I mean? That are sort of driving these things. If you read the screw tape letters, it kind of gives an example of like there's methodologies in the spirit, that related to demonic things, or entities, and there's people who suggest that there may actually be more technology on the demonic side than what is known on our side or whatever, and that's I don't know. The world is not ready for that information. I feel like, but anyway, point here is there's a lot of, and that's where the surveillance can kind of come in. And so it's important to have people that have done the shadow work a little bit, or just because or at least keep their energy field clear. And there's, I don't know. When you're in covenant with someone, there is an element of covering and things like that. But the people who know how to do this stuff can they humiliation rituals designed to offload their karma and their vices and things like that. And so that's why Paul was they don't have fellowship with darkness, don't break bread or whatever for these people. But there can be special assignments, like Jesus did or whatever, where he's prayed up enough to it and taking authority over things. But I don't know. That's why we're all led by the Spirit, because you got to be real, real sure on that. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a rerouting of confidence too, that the Spirit is in her or operating through her, or this is that other person, or like it's, um, yeah. It's finding the Jenga piece of your self-confidence and to try to sort of take that out, because a lot of times too, it's they not only they want to copy you, or but then also take you out a little bit too, and that but in these ritual relationships too, where there's just a redirecting of spiritual inheritance, that's part of the Spirit, because like we're spirit beings with a 3D body, and so more things can be happening on the like the 5D kind of thing than what we may be aware of in the 3D. So this is where you get bad feelings about people, and it's your intuition saying things. They always give the example of like the kid that like doesn't want to give grandpa a hug or something like that, and it's just because like it's just like there's an intuition thing that's related to understanding the Spirit and all that. So enough said on that, or whatever. So it's just the combined energy here. I guess it's just like he runs some tracking through but she's doing the glamour stuff, and then like she's kind of the bait in a sense, and her inner child's kind of the bait, and she may have this sort of like Queen of Swords thing that comes out too, but its beauty is designed to siren you into betrayal, basically, and that can be part of the sort of they want you to look like you stole your own scroll, which is crazy, because it's always that narcissistic thing. If they can make you look, if they can accuse you of what you're about to say, it really takes the power of what your accusations out, and undermining your credibility is kind of a big deal too, because you can call this stuff out. But yeah, so I'll try to go faster through these. It's just really interesting to break it down this way. There's one other thing, because that can be the flying monkey thing too. Because like everybody's like, well, how do flying monkeys work? Like, how does every narcissist know how to recruit flying monkeys or whatever? Well, they find communities and of people that have BPD, and they know how to become that person's favorite person, and get people addicted to their presence and validation. And it's like C.S. Lewis thing, where Edmund like got addicted to the Turkish delights, and then with the control of the evil queen, right? That's part of this sort of thing. And of course there's all kinds of men who do the same kind of thing or whatever. But the negs and the validation and all that stuff was kind of an example of this stuff. But approval and chasing and energy harvesting and all that stuff is if people just connect to Spirit and gets validated by God and learn how to validate themselves or a child, you're less vulnerable to all this stuff. And take all these people off a pedestal, because they're just running the same game on you as other people. But this is some of this stuff, when it's aimed at chosen one, is pretty insidious, because they're trying to. These are spiritual scammers. These are harlot Babylon. These coven people who know how to do this stuff. The Two of Wands reversed too is like, this is what happens though. So you feel paranoid, and your intuition has been affected a lot of times. That's part of the damage that they were trying to do, and that the gaslighting, that's part of the design, right? They always talk about like the cat, the reason they bat them out so many times is to cause enough brain damage for it to like it's like bite back essentially. And so that's where it's like they're calling you out for everything, but then like you call them for one thing and then they're withholding and punishing and whatever. But then they're ignoring your calls, but like they're like sending you energy or whatever that's like directed at wanting you to and doing moon magic, stuff like that, or whatever, more powerful stuff. So all the energy that you've given them thus far, they tend to like exploit that and track that in. So you feel a pull to a person, but you don't want to call them 7 times. But yet that's what that pull is sort of doing. because you're on their mind, believe it or not, you know. But like, don't be validated by that, because that's just more bait. But yeah, so, but yeah, the whole getting you just to question yourself, getting their flying monkeys to question yourself, creating a narrative of just like, yeah, yeah, they seem unsure, or they're not well. They love it, you know, all these labels, and so and then they become the arbiter of wellness, even though they're way worse than you, whatever. It's just like they'll just say, you don't sound good, you don't look good, whatever. It's just like, now all of a sudden you're begging for their approval, and they have control over you, and they can just start slandering everywhere, like, well, you don't look right, you know, or whatever. It's yeah. So this is why is the serpent's harmless as dove. It's not meant to like psych you or whatever. It's to validate your experience and to help you understand why they did it and why it's under such severe judgment. Because, well, I don't want to glorify the devil, talk about how bad it gets. But again, you're in this collective, you're being prayed over and saved from this. So, but yeah, the monitoring thing, that kind of just seems like, it's like they're all in collusion, and sometimes that can just be a principality thing or a thought placement thing. Like they're just, you know, channeling energy, which is a form of dark magic. And I mean, lying is a form of dark magic in a sense, or whatever. It's using negative intention to channel energy at somebody. That's not a good thing to do. It's a difference between like listening to something to like discern like what the traps are, versus like trying to affect a negative outcome on somebody, like, or wishing negativity, you know. It's better to almost like intercede for them, you know, in a sense, not for them to be enabled, but for them to, you know, just, you know, like Christ said, you know, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, and then, you know, let him work out the karma part of it. Galatians 6:8. So anyway, yeah, it's slowly seeding in doubt and undermining, and again, these, like, you think you're really cool about these things you've done or whatever, you're building yourself up because that took a lot to get, and they just like undermine it with like, yeah, I guess so, or like, yeah, it must be nice to be so privileged or whatever. But then they want the maximum pity of like all their stuff, which you're happy to give as an empath, but then like they just feed on that, and then just like, it's never, it can be so over the top reciprocal at the beginning, you know, but like, that's almost like a karmic trap too. Like if you got addicted to like, or drawn in by how vulnerable and codependent they were at the beginning, and were feeding on that, you know, rather than like interceding for it, I guess, then it's like they feel kind of justified in like doing that, then you swap and letting you experience the other side of that, you know. So these are power, and a lot of times this is like a generational passed down thing or something, or it's just a spirit or whatever. So it can feel powerful, but it's, you know, just knowing your own power and just like decreeing like, I take my power back, you know, is massive, you know, and just realize, and just demystifying it like I'm doing here now is the point too. So yeah, it's just, it's the Nine of Pentacles, yeah, it's, yeah, we talked about that. So the Two of Wands too is like this astral cord too, that it sounds like your own intuition, but it's actually just like coming from them, of what they're sending to you, and kind of just trying to get you to loop back into doubt too. And so, yeah, some of the Eastern Star stuff is a lot of this, right? You know, and so they're trying to get you to like, yeah, any ability that you had to like envision like a future, or like kind of have a clairvoyant too, like they're just sending you a lot of illusions, and that's like designed to like break your sort of compass there. So it's like, you know, you're overthinking it, or you're, they're just speaking all these things over you and getting you to believe that about yourself. And it's like, oh, apparently I have a codependency issue, but like you never had an issue before with that before you met them, kind of thing. But here, this temperance thing here this is like what we're talking about, what we're trying to do is this divine override that's like breaking in and saying, you know, this is, you know, this can just be thought placement. Like, this is not who you are. This is a identity swap. This is not, you know, they're trying to make you codependent so that they can get you to chase, and that can turn into they can then they'll come up with the sob stories, wanting like monetary support, or even just the energetic thought of you're chasing them. That's a validation, and then they get their own sense of worthiness by your chase, and then they'll go and take that currency, in a sense, of like feeling wanted and valued, and chase after, and that confidence will then enable them to manifest a relationship with somebody else, or jobs, or all different kinds of things like that. So this is the balance after the black magic of God's. You're saying, like, taking these promises, like in the Bible, like, God, you said you would restore the years, the months, the however long that the locust is eaten. I claim my power back. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. And God's like honoring that. He loves it when you say, like, you said that, so please do this. And then you can also add on, like, I decree this, because it's you. This is your power that you're claiming back, and you're realizing that there's a lot of effort that goes into just going after one person. So, and again, it's a lot of us to take your focus off of the Lord, and distraction is the name of the game, so you don't walk out your calling, and that they can, or their version of it, which is darker. So this Tower in reverse too, this is like, this is, it's a little bit, they want you to act out. That's some chaos energy that they throw at you sometimes too, so that they can make you the unstable one, which is only going to further help this for smear campaign sometimes. So it can be, even just like if they're wanting you to get back into that karmic cycle with that person and get trapped again to them, just like unblocking them. That's that trap that they're trying to detonate. And when it doesn't, then a lot of times you have taken the spiritual, how do I say this? Because like the demonic and the narcissistic systems of people and the witchcraft and all that kind of stuff like that, like they should never be more prosperous than the people of God. But it happens when we validate them and give them that power, right? And that's especially too with the people that are actually like in these like societies or clubs or like coven things, or like they're just generational stuff or whatever. That's why they think of you as a chosen one, in a sense, because you're called if you were chosen, and there's just too many. I don't know. I've tried to intercede and pray for them, and I believe anybody can be saved, and so that. But I also like believe in like, don't do mission dating, and it's the church's role to like do some of this stuff if people are using their access to you to rewrite the code of your self-identity, basically. So, because they can pretend to want it just enough to get their hooks in and then flip on you. That's the danger. But the Page of Swords can be like, sort of the Watchers too. It's like, it's kind of like there's a record keeping element here too, right? Because like we're meant to judge angels and stuff like that. The Christians are supposed to do that. There's an element of that, but like the Jezebel system wants to tempt, not just to give the power away or to lead into destruction, but also to like, because the Bible doesn't say judge not, and that's it. It says judge not, but like first get the speck out of your eye, and then you can see clearly help the other person. And so, if there's like places where you've done the same thing, and haven't covered it by the blood of Jesus, or if you're just a known struggler with that kind of thing, and you're asking for mercy for it, it can feel harder to call judgment on it, which is like what they're afraid of you doing, because what they did to you is wrong, and it is absolutely a forgive them if they don't know what they do. But if that access is still like either hurting other people or it's Yeah, I don't know. That's between you and the Lord too. If you, I don't tend to call the judgment. Um, I call for it to be restored to me, but the Lord can do that via other means. It doesn't have to be like always like the people like we're paying or something. But yeah, because my heart is, like the Lord. He desires everybody to be saved. If He's still giving them breath, He's still saying their name every day. And they haven't taken the mark of the beast. So. But I don't think anybody's too far gone. I refuse to cede that ground to the enemy, and so I'm told otherwise. I just pray for more wisdom and revelation and experience the love of God. And we can do so much more by praying for people than otherwise too. So yeah. So we put these together too, and it's just like, yeah, they're kind of hacking your intuition and sending you doubt that you think is discernment or it's suspicion, and it's not discernment. Two wands, reverse temperance too. It's just like stuff starts to short out because like you're just learning the difference between spiritual confusion and spiritual contradiction, and that's actually breaking their access. Also cord cutting, right. But temperance are reversed. Kevin's coming in, and like you're not texting back, and you're not retaliating. You're just walking out of the fire, and then Tower reverse, Page of Swords. Yeah, that was just where they were hoping that you would self-destruct or sending you that energy so that they could report the fall of the tower as being your fault. And maybe you knew it worked for a minute and then you just woke up and snapped out of it, or it just didn't, you had the discernment and you got out of it. But if you stayed on your path and you jumped up to the highest timeline, then it's harder for these dark ones to claim your scroll or to submit a report on you or fabricate your consent, basically. Yeah, try to pin your own skull thoughts on you. So let's see. All right, so let's do some more on this. Okay. So let's figure out some more scams here. Six of Cups in reverse, Knight of Pentacles, Chariot reverse, King of Wands, Three of Swords, Seven of Cups. Okay, so this is interesting, right? Because this is like, this the psychic mirroring, right? Just like designed to make you feel like you've known them forever, or they've known you forever, right? This whole like destiny swap, identity swap, whatever. And again, if that's new to you, just search it on TikTok. There's some pretty quick breakdowns of that, and there's like movies and stuff like that too. And I don't know, I talk about it too much, but I want to actually get into like the nitty gritty of like, especially like these online scammers and these, just some of the tech that's out there. But a lot of it too is just, it's supposed to be like, because this is giving like mirroring your inner child wounds a little bit too, but like also, what do they do? It's like psychic probing. And with BPT too, like, I've seen so many stories of this like almost like casing the person, befriending their mom, getting to know their childhood thing, finding out his favorite hair color, their hair that color, you get the favorite movies, the glasses, the things. Frozen was great. It was just like, finish each other's sandwiches or whatever, but like the mirroring that happens, and then he like discloses his like, it's really me or whatever. I remember that would be great if I loved you or something. Like that was the ritual humiliation that's designed to like break, what's that local song, like I'm trying to break your heart or something. That's a big part of what they're trying to do, and that's just a demonic thing. But this is that element too, where they want to siphon your Nine of Pentacles, and it's wild how this works. When people talk about like energetic vampires or psychic vampires or any of these things too, it's just or like, you know, there's always like the, you know, the witch or the Rapunzel in there, or something like they're getting their, they find the fountain of youth through extracting it from, you know, younger, fairer vessels or whatever. They want to be the fairest of them all or something like that. Like it's the energetic cords or stuff like that on a spiritual level. That they know how to do that stuff or something. But that can be through trauma, wounding, and these things, and these energetic exchanges that, like, I mean, I don't know enough about this stuff, and I don't want to glorify the devil to talk about it, but like, these came out together like for a reason, because yeah, it is yeah, it can be psychically, it can be just like, you know, the amount of information in shared recovery spaces too can be concerning, because there's a lot of mirroring and creating personas. Playlists are big, because that's like, I mean, there's nothing more powerful than music to like rewrite and repower your psyche and to like get you to manifest them, and vice versa, and by which then they take that, and they'll even like go hot and cold in the playlist, but they'll take that energy to get you pulled back in and then put you back through another trauma cycle or whatever. And if they work on their shadow and, you know, actually ascend and get a relationship with, you know, the Lord and all these things, the source, get free of that kind of stuff, it can, you know, they won't keep betraying you and intentionally doing all these things, but a lot of times it's just their way of life, and I don't know. Anyway, so, and it can be like they were, I don't know, a soulmate, but then that's it, like who these like covens are, like it's like the Babylon societies, whatever. They almost like, if they can get one of the, I won't say soulmate, but like a divine union that God has like created, and then get one of them to fall and betray the other one, then that's a big boon for them. But also like, they will just pretend to be a soulmate, or gets you to think it was your idea that they are, and that's part of this sort of like, yeah. I mean, because like, Jesus even talked about like false signs and wonders, and Paul talked about like people forbidding marriage, and part of that spirit behind forbidding marriage is like to stay, like getting you set up with somebody so that you never end up with the person you're supposed to be with, because then that divine union that God created or intended would be disruptive to the kingdom, because there's, I mean, Paul talked about that one of the highest callings is that of being a father and husband, mother and a wife. So yeah, but the connection just becomes this sort of cord binding through familiarity, because it'll have you questioning all your other relationships, looking back at this other person, which is this kind of avoidance sabotage thing or two. But when you get into that, just like self-actualization, you have that glow, your confidence, and your self-made energy, it's definitely, you got to keep your circle small sometimes, or just stay with those who are building you up as much as you can, because that's what they can try to do, is engineer these things to like, yeah, if you want to make a narcissist mad, just be happy, because that's just like, they're so driven by jealousy, or be happy with somebody else. And it's, yeah, some of them are powerful. Like I'm still upset that these people are so powerful, because it shouldn't be that way. But whatever groups they've aligned themselves with, it can be wild. But like, you know, again, a lot of times it's your power that they did it on, you just got to take it back. So, yeah, soulmate trap. All right, so next we got like the Chariot reversed and King of Wands, which is like the inverted path, and it's delays, you know, that's delayed leaders. Yeah, you're not supposed to remember that you're actually kind of a visionary, and they've got you going in a different direction, and they're trying to pull you off the right path. So spiritual distraction, and that can just be a soulmate scam we talked about, or like the false mirror, continual fake crises, or setting you up with like two bad options. They love to do that, where like both the choices are wrong, and they will leverage that and control you with whatever choice that you decide. And that can be an out of the fire situation too. But even though during those circumstances, like was that Arrested Development thing where they're like, car trouble or whatever. Yeah, but that's the karma of it, not really working out for him. Blows up in his face, but it's they'll come in as the hero, and they might convince you that by like severe mirroring you, but they're mirroring you to get your trust and also to destiny swap and siphon, and just so you don't know how bad they really are. But then also, yeah, it's if you do one, the way to test it though is just to like say no. Do one thing for that's like, actually I'm gonna do it my way, and watch their mask fall off, and then realize that they are wildly your ops. So okay, yeah, Three of Swords. It's card, yeah, it's artwork. Always gets me. But it's also with the Seven of Cups in reverse too. So this is there's a betrayal that breaks the spell, and that's what we want, is that it actually like breaks the spell, because some people like it's just heartbreak, right? And it can be tricky because sometimes it is like like if they really didn't know what they signed up for, or they're a really good actress or actor, it might feel like they're the ones with the heartbreak, and then they do some things and they destiny swap, and then it's you're the one, and then they're the victor, and they don't care about you at all. And again, codependency recovery too. I don't always love that, because it's like becoming a narcissist isn't the way out of PPD or like narcissistic abuse necessarily. Disconnecting, detaching. I mean, there's a wisdom to these things, whatever, but it's all, yeah, like they can just get really like withholding as punishment, which is another form of control. But you definitely want to choose yourself and these kind of things like that. But like, it's more about knowing who you can trust, and like two people that are needy in the right places, and like both the dependence can be a good thing. Like if you're dependent on the Lord and a little bit on each other, and work out as just fulfilling each other's needs, versus, because the alternative is just like the other person's so cold and detached and withholding, and they're just justified jaded and like probably looking for somebody else all the time. It's not the highest or whatever, but like, if we get our needs met in the Lord, and then we're able to have this other way of connecting with somebody too, that can be biased, but like that's a whole other message. But yeah, if they can love bomb you and build this fog and shared fantasy and shared illusion, a lot of times that's suggestion that gets you to fill in the blanks, and then they can be like, I never said that, or like, that was a million years ago. They love that stuff. Or that was just a song, just a playlist. But they'll getting the breadcrumbing, they'll be like, I hate feelings checks, which are like really important and like helpful, so you don't overgive. But if they want you to overgive, they're like, I don't like to talk about my feelings, or blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, if they can get you always chasing, and then they can, hold on to their light and love and extract yours, and then use that light to land somebody else, or whatever. Or your money, or all these things. So, but yeah, it can be too, like it's, it's the clarity that can come and just realize, like, especially if you have realized that you were dealing with someone with unhealed trauma, or like a narcissistic tie or something, you can sort of be detached enough to avoid the Three of Swords and go straight to the Seven of Cups. But because it's like that, the clarity will break the soul tie. We have to actually break it too, but like can help you do that and kind of reverse the spell, and you can start to see clearly. And then all this forget magic they try to do on you to get you to like not remember all the times they blew up, or got you to overcommit, and then yank the rug out. So it's just that broken betrayal that restores your sight. So, but it's like, we go way back, and you're meant for me, and trust me, I'm safe, but they just really want I'm wanting your vision and your path and your glow and all those things. So it's a lot of times it's hurt people type of energy, but it's also too just like they think love is pain, and they think they can get their needs met through these systems, and always, if they're always the one who's hurting the other person, then they can never get hurt, especially if their trauma is so unhealed that like it's gasoline on an open wound when they get hit. And then if a couple of these breakups, if you don't get to the Seven of Cups reversed, then like they're just waiting to punish you again sometimes. And it's like it breaks your heart when they're in this way, even though they didn't really care when you were this way. They might have like laughed at you or like thought you were just weak. But when they were this way, it still is heartbreaking because you have actual empathy, and they can too. But yeah, that's the thing though too, is like, because they're a broken person in a broken system, a lot of times, even if it's natural trauma and not meant to like the energetic vampires or the Babylons, it's like or any other groups, whatever. They really are just like a wounded child. That's their way that they keep themselves safe. They have a defender, but the defender uses a lot of manipulation and treachery to stay safe, because their concept of love is they're either the one that is breaking or getting broken, as hooking or getting hooked. And so all the love that they feel for you is like, oh, well, that's an illusion that they put on me. Or they're like, oh, you're just needy and going through a cycle or something like that. The way that they can deconstruct everything and demystify it and diminish it, that's a value, and then construct everything that's meaningful, or apparently, the illusion of meaningful, and all of their gestures are massive, and that, and of course, when it's supposed to be the masculine, that's the chaser or whatever, and the one with no feeling, then they can, justify that, and a lot of stuff there too, but yeah, it's stuff is not for the weak, or even if you were like strong, and this is stuff that can make you weak. But yeah, if people knew how much power they really had, and then yielded that power to like, the universal support that you have, I think, when you're like legit trying to find, your divine counterpart, and trying to find love or whatever, the one that's for you, and I think is really significant. And people are like, oh, I just want to date around or rebound or this kind of stuff like that too. I definitely see value in that, and it could be stuff like that. But I've also seen just like the universe kind of frown on that, and I don't understand it. But and I really mean the Lord, and but like I'm speaking language to the people that might be watching a reading like this. There's a trust there. But yeah, it's if the heart's so hidden in God that you have to go through God to find the person, kind of thing. But that person's like really, in Herman injury. I don't know how it works out necessarily, but yeah. Let's see here. Let's just do like a closing like decree to sort of like void any of these contracts that might have came up for you, and also like name the scams, I guess, for what they were, so that we can repossess any timeline that our name was sort of forged in, I guess. So, by authority given to me as a chosen one and a scroll bearer, and light worker, or one who's taking back my identity, and I speak for the collective as well, is agreeing with this. I hereby bring all soul ties, contracts, rituals, pacts, covenants, agreements, and energetic forces forged without my full conscious divine consent, into judgment. So any spell, binding, mimicry, tracking, natural programming,